Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters right here on Self-Discovery Wisdom. I am your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest is Stephanie Maley. We're going to be talking about her book, her new book, No Longer That Girl. I don't think anybody is ever who we used to be, but it's the discovery of who we are now that matters. She says, no longer that girl takes hard topics and turns them into palpable illuminations. The story is proof that we can transform our wounds into love and healing. Sometimes we need to look into our past in order to move forward in our lives. Not everyone has the courage to be self-honest, but Steph delivers her truth with hope that she lives by. And through writing this, she confronts the past with compassion, embracing the child she once was, the woman she became. The journey weaves between stories of abandonment, serious health struggles, deeply traumatic encounters with men she trusted. Supported by her therapist, husband, and faith, she unravels the betrayals that shaped her to need to please. Oh gosh, I know this one. To please and longing to be loved. Ultimately, finding her voice, her power, and her joy. She's a native of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Dreamed of writing a book since she was a young woman. 30 years later, it's never too late. That dream found its way into reality. Before becoming an author, she worked as a pediatric nurse, getting her BSN, home educated her two sons, and became a professional photographer after obtaining an associate's degree in photography at 48 years old. And she and her husband Mike live in their dream home in Lake Hartwell in Northwest Georgia, where you find Steph swimming, paddleboarding, kayaking, and driving her boat. In other words, truly living. Welcome to the show, Steph.
Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
You know, I wrote mine a couple of years ago, and it's incredibly cathartic, isn't it? You know, when you
Yes,
look back, and I think when you look back from where you are now, you know, it's not reliving the trauma, it's realizing how much we've grown,
yes,
how, and who we've become. And you look at all the ups and downs and the tumultuousness and everything else, and you go, wow, I was strong. I can't believe I got through that.
that's
Did you
very
find
true.
that for yourself?
Actually, I did. When I really, had to go back into all of that time in my life and realize how strong that I was, that I
Mhm.
did get through it and I managed it. Even when I was feeling very alone, I still had what it took to get through these, very difficult traumas in my life. And I'm very different now. I mean, I'm
Mm.
funny and, just enjoy having a good time and feel comfortable in my skin, all of these things as an adult now.
You became who you were meant to be,
Yes, yes.
right?
And I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think to get here, it took looking back at those things and being able to tell that little girl how everything is fine. I've got you now. You don't have to struggle. We've been through it together, but I'm in a different place. I know about boundaries. I have a
Yes.
voice. You are safe. And I
Mm.
think I needed to do that in order to be where I am today.
You hit on something that is pretty well everybody, the inner child, right?
Yes.
And as we grow up, we run so fast away from that inner child, and that inner child is saying, but what about me? You know, you've left me
Yes.
behind. Where's my hug? Where's my support? And
Right.
we do have to go back to that inner child and say, you're still very much a part of my life, right?
Yes.
But
Right.
I give you more voice. I give you more empowerment.
Yes. Yes, because I would wake up every day and just have this weight on me until I
Mhm.
really process a lot of this. I mean, I've been in therapy for a long time, but writing was a whole nother level of
Mm,
healing. But I would wake up with this ball and chain. I'm like, why do I have this? I have this incredible life. My husband and I have been married for 35 years now, and our sons are doing well and all of this. But what is it that keeps me from
mm,
jumping out of the bed with joy?
yeah.
And I think again, that was that little girl saying, hello,
Hmm.
I'm still
Hmm.
really wounded in here,
Yeah.
you know. So,
I need a hug. I need some love. I need some tender care.
yes,
And then that childlike, when you release the burden from that child that's gone through everything, travels with you into your more senior years, but brings you back into the childlike joy. That does make you jump out of bed, right?
right. You're like excited for the day,
Yes,
not
yes.
like thinking of all those things in the past, that brought me down. So it's really facing off
Mm,
with those past as an adult who is, more comfortable with who she is and has her voice, and to be able to go and say, I want to look this head on, look at all this, and be able to actually experience the emotions that I didn't even allow myself
mm,
as a young girl, because I wouldn't have been able to survive if I
yes.
hadn't just put up, the walls or
Yeah.
whatever, and bury it inside of me, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I,
I mean, unfortunately, so much of survival comes into making yourself small,
yes, oh yeah,
hiding in the corner, so to speak, not to draw the attention, the negative attention. And
exactly.
unfortunately, then that, even when you think I'm free of it now, you're not,
Yeah,
because you've made yourself so small, you don't know how to grow or how to be big, right? So you travel and then
exactly.
become victimized again because you're too small.
That's it. There's a time to be a victim because you are a victim.
Yes,
There's no two ways about it, but staying in it,
yes,
to me, it impedes
yeah.
any growth in yourself, and you get stuck.
Mm,
And so there's a time for it, and there's a time to get past that and know that you're not a victim anymore.
right, right. And to kind of look at yourself and say, I'm so much more than that. I always with people kind of are on their journey of self-discovery, and then somehow they hit a roadblock. Oh God, it's all happening again. I'm right back at no. It's just memories have come up for you
Yeah.
to face, to release, but turn around and look how far you've come already. You've
Right.
already come so far, right? Now all you need to do is pay attention to this
Yes.
and release that, and then on you'll move again. Don't get caught up in the old
Yeah.
drama that the cellular tissue is trying to get you to remember.
And it's funny you say that because that is actually how my book starts, because
Hmm.
it was COVID.
Hmm.
When COVID came, I had been a pediatric nurse. My husband's a rural pediatrician. And we're seeing on the news, these Italians are saying, I mean, we're dying like crazy over here. It's headed to you in a couple of weeks. And so one day I just sat there and I was like, I'm going to die. And
Mm.
all it was because of all the trigger,
Yes.
that I had buried
Hmm.
came full. It's like I don't even know how to be safe in my home now because my
Mm.
husband's exposed to children and adults, and we don't know anything about this.
Yes.
And so when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly, I got triggered, that term, but it just, all my vulnerabilities. And I called my therapist and I said, I need to write my funeral plans.
Wow. So it hit you that hard,
It hit
right?
me really hard.
But when you take a step back and then you look at it for what it is, then you realize, well, thank you. Because had I not had this, it's an overwhelming suffocation. Had I not had this at that moment, I wouldn't have learned how to breathe again, right?
Right,
So,
right.
and then in that learning to breathe again, it's like, well, what am I really afraid of? And why have I been carrying it so long? And then this is when it's like, what they used to say, pull up your big girl breeches,
Right,
right?
right.
And face
Okay.
it.
Yeah, right. Just, you can do it. Exactly. But it was like, oh my goodness, I really know I'm going to die. And I've never had that experience. I mean, I
Mm.
have with some of my physical issues with asthma and things, but
I mean, you saw me with the
this,
pump.
you do what now?
You just saw me with the asthma pump. I have asthma too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right. So, yeah,
yeah,
so and using
yeah.
that analogy of breath is
Yes.
so
Uh-huh.
keen to you and I because we're
Yeah.
like, we know what it's like not to be able to breathe,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And there's the people that, get caught in breath through fear or through shock or through trauma, right? I mean, and what do we say to people? Please just take a breath.
Breath,
Just
take a
take a
deep.
breath. But in the case of people who literally breathing can be a challenge sometimes,
Exactly.
and I'm sure you know this, and other people who have ever had asthma or lung problems would understand this. Having an asthma attack, which I once did in the middle of a show. Thank God it was a mum of 15 children, so she
Oh,
was
she
really
would like,
calm.
she's like, take
Be
your
calm,
time,
dear, don't
honey.
worry. And I had never seen myself have an asthma attack, so I didn't realize how contorted you are. Your face,
Yes,
your face, your whole
exactly.
body just like
Yes,
this, and you're trying to breathe, but everything's
yes,
shut down. And a
yes.
lot of that, I cut that out not to traumatize anyone else from the show, but because it traumatized me. But a
Right.
lot of that is what happens when we are in memory or something floods up. It shuts us all down. It constricts
Yes,
us so much. And that
yes.
trying to gasp that breath, never mind face something, is like you are in a moment of paralyzation.
You are. My first experience, I had had bronchitis. I don't know if this is the case for you, but growing up, I had bronchitis a lot.
Yeah.
And then I had gone on a trip with our youth group as a teenager. I was 11, 12, and I was allergic to hay. And it was the hay truck. And I spent a lot of
Mm,
time in that hay. And I ended up with double pneumonia in an oxygen tent for
mm.
2 weeks. I came in unconscious. My dad carried me in. And then it was after that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm done. I lived. I couldn't even do the TV remote because you couldn't bring that into the oxygen tent. There was not much to do once I started feeling better.
Uh-huh.
But then it was like, okay, now we need to test you for allergies. Like it didn't
Mm,
stop, right?
yes.
I'm allergic to everything off the chart. Yeah, you
Yes.
and me.
You'll
And
look
then,
at it.
yeah, I know. And then the next thing, it's like, oh, and now we have an allergist who's come to Chattanooga. We want you to see him for shots.
Mm,
So off and on for 30 years. And
yes.
finally, about 10 years ago, I told the one I work with now, okay, test me one more time. And if I show up as allergic as I've always been, I'm done with shots because they just don't work for me. I'm not
No.
saying for anybody
Mm,
else, they can work, but I started in the 70s and having them. And so sure enough, within a minute, my arms, I'm ready to scratch them. I said, okay, I'm finished. It's just not
yes.
working.
No. No. And that's when you look to alternative stuff. It never worked for
Mhm.
me. I've had asthma since the age of 2. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
for me, but in 68 years, right? So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
and I never outgrew it. And back in the day, people actually did die from it, because
Yes,
there was not the gush, and of course I'm on a Ventolin pump, and that
yes,
but that only came out at when I was 14, and now it's my lifesaver. It is in every room of my house.
yes,
So because you have to have common sense around it, and this
yes,
is a lot of things that people have when they have a challenge, an illness challenge, and
yes,
one that you just have to manage. There's no cure. It's all about management.
right.
You learn okay, what do I need to put in place to manage this so that A, if
Exactly.
I have an attack, or B, if I get triggered, I can deal with it. But just as
Right.
we approach something we have to manage in our health, it's the same approach we have to do for our well-being and our mental and soul and spirit health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot just treat one and not the
No,
other. I mean,
no.
I think it's important that we make an intention in our lives on how we're going to take care of our psyche, of our health, our body, mind. I mean, all
Mm,
of that, they're all connected and you just
yes.
can't just do one. Got to focus on all of them.
Yeah, and this is, kind of very often my argument with the Western medical world because they love to treat one part of you, but they
Right,
never treat the whole of you. And, when you go to holistic medicine, it is the whole of you. And that
right,
very much comes into um, whether you have breathing challenges or not, but learning to breathe.
yes,
Breathe through the tension, breathe through the fear, breathe through the anxiety,
right.
and breathe into a form of centering yourself. And it's just breath is everything
It is. It
in
is.
every aspect. And I think it's something that when as you said, you woke up and you felt, I'm going to die, this is it.
Hmm.
It was an accumulation of everything you faced in your life of where you felt on the edge. And
Yes,
this was the final straw,
it was.
right?
Yeah.
Start digging that grave. I understand it very, very well. But we didn't get as far as we've got, that hidden resilience to give up. It's just we're tired.
I like that. Gonna bring it out of retirement.
Yeah. So,
That's true.
and so then it's like, okay, well, I have to breathe because I'm not dead. I even have to
Right.
breathe to dig the grave. So, I may as well use the
Exactly.
breath for something else.
Right. Yes, and that's exactly what I mean. Once my therapist, she called and said, "What is going on?" And I told her, and she said, "We've just got to make you feel safe at home." I said, "That's it. That's it. I don't feel safe." And it's not
Mm,
because my husband, it's just because of we don't know what this is about.
yeah.
I was a pediatric nurse. I know how viruses and things, I
Yes.
know. And
Yeah.
so it was what was funny is that she ended up being the one that came up with ideas to help me feel safe. She said, I want you to call your allergist, immunologist, and call the CDC. But for now, why don't you have your husband put his clothes in the washing machine or the
Mhm.
dry, either one, just and take a shower and then put a mask on and you stay 6 feet apart. And all of that, I'm starting to breathe again. It's like,
Yes.
oh yeah. And then I was so desperate. I did get on to CDC. I waited an hour and 10 minutes. I mean, I'm patient, but I'm not like that patient, but it was
Yeah.
desperation because my question was, what do people who have a healthcare person in the home need to do? Because
Yes.
we have a healthcare person in the home, and what do we need to do to protect the rest of the family? And when I finally got to a person, she just read what was on the website. There was nothing to it. And
Yeah.
anyway, in the end, my therapist, her suggestions, we did it for almost a year,
Hmm. It
and I
doesn't make
stayed
for good
home.
relationship.
I know we have a great relationship, and it
You
was
know,
so hard though not to
I love you,
hug.
darling, but stay 6 feet away.
Yes, please. And we would do a bear hug in the back, our backs and stuff. But and it worked. I mean, but it was just that. What is the issue? I don't feel safe. So let's
Right.
address that.
And that's the thing is that people who aren't compromised won't understand that.
Yeah.
But you can't be any good for anyone else if you're compromised yourself. And this
Yes.
is part of, I always say we've got our own responsibility to look after ourselves.
Yes.
Right. We say when you're aware, you care. When you care, you do something about it. You can never be unaware. When you're aware that you are vulnerable, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you know what you need to do to protect yourself. And you need to do that because you can't help anyone else if you're in that state of panic. And so,
Absolutely.
and especially physical, because, especially in a situation like that, the hospital's already jam-packed full.
Hmm.
Will you get the care that you need at that time? So prevention is everything,
Yes.
right?
It
So,
is.
and how many people emotionally, discovered their anxiety, discovered, some mental problems that they were living with that they had ignored, because
Yeah.
what COVID actually gave us ultimately was pause to think, pause to redirect,
Yes.
pause
It
to
was.
contemplate, um, and to assess.
Yeah.
So after your initial panic and once you felt safe,
Yeah. It,
that's when
it
you could start really assessing and looking at things.
Right, exactly. And yeah, and that's when it also I had already written like an autobiography starting in 2018 for myself, and that followed the Me Too movement. once Me Too came out, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not by myself. I'm not alone.
Hmm.
I'd only shared with my husband. I mean, I had kept all those secrets all those years inside. And so then I wrote that for myself to do research to see if my memories were right on. And then when COVID came and I felt safe, I wrote the memoir.
Yeah. It was a prime time with so many people. That was a pivot for them into either a book or a redirection, a new career, or just a new life,
Yeah.
because it gave everybody a pause. You were locked down.
Yes.
Where could you go? You had to stay put, and it gave everybody a pause to reassess their life, or to allow their life to come out in full view. And
Yeah.
a lot of people say, but why do people write memoirs? And it's not egotistical, and it's not all about you, although it is. It is in many ways, this is what happened to me. This is how I got through it.
Right.
These are the skills tools I did, right? That somebody else reading it that's going through something can
Yes.
apply for themselves. So this is
Yeah.
the reason behind it, is to see someone's strength, courage, resilient, but their how.
Right.
And
The how. And that is, and I would be happy just to write here in my office and then send it out. But the truth is, if I'm going to get it to in the right hands of people who could use it, I need to do these
what we're doing
podcasts
here, yep.
and doing this type of thing to reach other people because they're not alone. And again, when the Me Too movement came, I was like, that was such a lifeline for me.
Yes.
It's like to hear other women being strong and sharing their stories and
Yeah.
confronting their abuser and predator. And so that's what I want. Like these are the things I did, and this is what worked for me, and you can have it. I have an incredible life.
Mm.
I have a wonderful husband. I have incredible children and just an incredible life. And you can too. There is a way to get past all of that. And this is what I
Yes.
did for me.
And also, an awful lot of time, people are so busy either running from what happened to them or running to something. They
Yes,
don't realize that they've been carrying this heavy weighted coat on them the whole time. You thought you left
exactly.
it behind, but no, until we deal with it, until we face it,
Yes.
and take that coat off, hang it up, and say, "I'm sorry, I'm not even sending you off to the Sally Ann. I don't want anyone else to have this coat, right?
Right.
I'm burning you." And
Right.
we don't realize sometimes what we're carrying until something triggers it, brings it up, and then it's
It
like,
will come
oh my
out.
God, resistance is futile. You can't outrun it. It
You
will
can't
catch
outrun
you.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It will get you. It will find you.
Oh, yeah.
And usually at a very difficult time,
Yes.
where you're already, because then you don't have all your shield up,
Yes.
when it gets triggered. Something else has happened that kicks that in, and it's usually a tough time
Mhm.
already.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, these are things that happened in your childhood, and where you had to make yourself small and kind of, if I'm not seen, I won't get
Right.
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. I had, yeah, I was like 7 the first time I was molested by a teacher's son. And, it was just off the cuff. He came to visit, and I was in second grade, and we had a school-wide film. And so my teacher said, oh, you can walk with him. And, I held his hand, and my other best friend, we just thought this is the best day ever.
Mm.
And then,
How old was he?
17. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's like, once you're prey, it
Yeah.
seems like these predators, like I didn't even know about the word grooming until I was writing this memoir and I
Yeah.
came across it and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like they followed a script.
Yes.
And again, my mom was a single mom when I was 3 months old, and my brother was 2. Our father left and had an
Mhm.
affair and got out of Dodge. And so, she was a single mom, and that alone made me vulnerable. And
Yes.
then she and my stepfather married when I was the end of my second grade till I was 15, another tough age to lose,
Yeah.
the man you. And so that's when the grooming and people, this other predator could see that my family was falling apart
Right.
and I
And
was
take advantage of
alone.
it. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
right. And take advantage of it. Yeah.
yeah. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in
Yes.
neon lights right now is the pedophilia
Yes.
really showing itself in high places
Yes.
because
Oh,
it is a grooming thing. It is very subtle. It is always under this film of charm or righteousness, right?
yes.
You've got clergy, you've got people in power doing this, and people trust people in power, right?
Right.
And so it's nobody ever believes that they could do that, right?
That's it.
Right.
I was
The child
14.
must be lying.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, that kept me quiet. I mean, the
yeah,
shame kept me quiet.
yes,
And then at 14, an Episcopal seminarian, I'm an Episcopalian, but an Episcopal seminarian became like part of the youth group and teaching the youth Sunday school. And, so when he was like molesting me, I'm thinking, but everybody thinks he's this great person.
yeah,
He's loved by so many people. Am I making this up? I mean,
yeah,
I was 14, and it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. And if I say something, will I be believed? That could be worse.
Will I get punished? Will they think I asked for it?
Right.
Right? What did I do wrong? Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, why does this happen to me?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it was like, well, the shame and I guess also the concern of how would that, how would that fall against me if I share this? What's going to
yeah.
happen? Everybody expects me to, they know that we're close and I have to go to his ordination, his graduation, because if I don't, people are going to ask.
You're
It's
right.
easier to keep the facade going.
Exactly. And then while it's eating away at your soul,
Yeah.
right? And always, and then what happens is there's an aura about you that's sent out. That you're living in your vulnerability, you're living in your fear, and they
Yes.
can smell that a mile away,
Yes, they can.
and they target you, and you think mentally, oh no, I've risen above this. I'm not that person anymore. They're not going to do that. And what happens? It's until we take care of that inner child,
Yes.
that inner victim. Unfortunately, there's a little beep, 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 beep going out that they have, totally tuned into. And oh,
Yeah.
once a victim, always a victim. Ooh, prime for me, right?
Exactly, exactly. And it happened again when I was 19. And prior to that, I had a boyfriend who felt like he needed space. So before I started at the university, I decided to go live with my birth father to get to know him in Las Vegas. So I get rejected by this boyfriend. We have this great time, and then all of a sudden he's like, I think I need some space. So I created a space saying, I'm going to get to know my birth father in Las Vegas. And it was very clear it was a good thing he didn't raise me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, within 2 weeks, he asked me, he just said, you would like to wash my van, wouldn't you? And I'm like, well, I just immediately got hooked up in the community. I started going in an Episcopal church. I got into a co-ed volleyball team. I wanted to sign up for classes at UNLV. And I said, well, I can't tonight because I'm going to work with the youth group. But I'll wash it tomorrow. And so he quit talking to me for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
I had never experienced that. So between that experience living there for 3.5 months and the boyfriend, I
Mm,
walked right back into it with another
yes.
predator.
Yeah. And we don't realize that that is what we're doing. The next person will be different. The
Right.
next is different. No,
Mhm.
no, they're not presenting the same way. So all the
Mhm.
signs that it's not evident in this person because they're very, very good.
They're
And
very good.
very good. And but unfortunately, that victimization of what we're sending off is they know it, they smell it, they just know, but we think we've dealt with it. We think that by, oh no, it's in the past. I'm not that person anymore. Right? And they're
Right.
not going to be attracted to me. Or, in many cases of rape, it either can put people off relationships entirely,
Exactly.
or it can send people seeking for love in all the wrong places. Right.
Exactly. I think I
Right.
had a combination of that. It's like
Uh-huh.
I was hustling for love. I had been
Yes.
abandoned by my birth father.
Yes.
I met him when I was 13. And then my stepfather, who was really my dad to me, then they divorced. And so, yeah, it's kind of like I'm hustling for love.
Yeah.
And when I'm hustling for love because of fear of abandonment, and I'm really loyal.
Right.
You're not going to
Yes, me
shake
too.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so when I met my husband, I was working as a pediatric nurse in a hospital, and I thought, I am so sick of the dating scene
Hmm.
that I'm going to take a leave of absence for 8 months and I'm going to go travel around the world.
Mm.
My mom's at home. Please don't let her do that. Please let her find somebody. And I didn't want to marry a doctor because my dad was a doctor too, my birth father. Um, and I met my husband, who was very different. He was a pediatric resident, and so instead of going around the world, which he tells everybody, I owe her a trip around the world, which we have done a lot of travel, but he
Mhm.
was so different. And in my mind, because my mom had been married 3 times, I was like, I don't know what it's going to take to find that person. I might have to live with them for years. This is just in my
Mm.
head. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
I'm getting out of Dodge. And so with him, I couldn't believe this happened. We literally dated and engaged and married in 5 months.
Wow.
And we've been together 35 years.
Yeah.
But what it was communication.
Hmm.
I could tell he listened, I listened, we shared, and that was the key. And I felt completely safe with him, and I still do. He's my safe space.
And he saw you
He did.
and he wanted to see you and he wanted
Yeah.
to interact with you. There wasn't that the agenda. He wasn't
Right.
saying things to win you over for his
Right.
agenda. He was speaking with you to form
Mhm.
a relationship and a partnership, which
Yes.
obviously a great deal more mature. I mean, people that are predators, I think in some cases it is in their DNA. They are born with it. You look at it, their parents or the fathers were like that, and very much to do with environment, the way they're brought up. Um,
Yes.
but I think it's um, it's a complete lack in them of feeling loved or seen, and this is how they're trying to get attention. This is how they're trying to be seen. There's also this whole doctrine, it's their right. Women,
Oh yeah.
yeah, are nothing. They're there for me, right? For my spoils. And we've really got to raise our children in a different way, especially our boys.
Yes.
And the value of a conversation, the value of self-respect, the value of respecting other, grace and integrity and um,
Hmm.
all of that, compassion, right? And to
Yes.
stop looking at women as, just something for them to do to. And
Right.
and we need to change that narrative. And I think kind of what is happening politically right now with like so many pedophiles coming up to the surface here,
Right.
um, that really what it's doing is it's not hiding anymore. It's blatantly obvious. And so if there are so many of them, and when you look
Right.
at the deep dark web, right, with the sexual predators, especially targeting children, that is
Yes.
a sickness. That is a sickness. And if we don't treat that sickness, it's
Yeah.
already got out of control. We need to treat it. I don't know how many through the 13 years I've been doing this of women that have been sexually exploited right from a young age. And it's just unacceptable.
It
And
is
unfortunately,
unacceptable.
it was very much given permission to them that that was okay. And it ain't, folks. It ain't on
No.
any level.
No, it isn't. And it's such a high statistic, as you're saying, that anytime I'm going to be with a group of, let's say, 3 women, 2 or 3 women, I'm always going to be the one who's been sexually molested or abused. But when I'm not in that group, somebody else is.
Yes.
And it is that small. I mean, it's like every
Yeah.
third or fourth woman has been molested, had
Yeah.
some kind of sexual abuse. It is that rampant.
And unfortunately, it does leave its scars. And, even when you do the work and you do come out and you do step into joy and life and living life on your own terms, the scars are always there.
Yeah.
Right. And you're aware of that. You're aware the scars are there. There's always that kind of looking at people, what's their agenda. My daughter, Mom, I want you to date. Why don't you go on a dating app? And I said, well, here's the problem. I'm turning 71 in a couple of weeks, right? So I'm going to be looking at people around that age. But for the most part, they were the most misogynistic men.
Yes.
And it's like they're more
Yep.
likely going after the younger ones for their ego,
Right.
right? And it's
Right.
like, how many of them actually have done the work to heal themselves or heal their own inner child? And so,
Exactly.
what hornet's nest would I be walking into?
I hear you. That's a tough, you're exactly right. It's not easy.
No,
I can't imagine that would not be easy. I had a friend I just was with at a high school reunion, and she said, "You know what? I think I'm going to try women." She goes, "Because I have not had any luck with men, and I'm just going to see if." And I said, "Well, go for
good for
it.
you. Yeah,
Do
good
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, love is love. Who cares? You know what package it comes into? It's love is love. And
Yes.
we all want to share a love with such giving people. That's how we're designed. And we want to give our love and know it's reciprocated,
Yeah.
but that it's valued. Right. So whatever
Right.
packaging it comes in, it's really we're beyond that,
Right.
you know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
and we need, the two or three of the generations to and I look at it in my son's generation, he's 40. And the for him is actually seeing what I went through.
Yeah.
He didn't want to put his wife through that, right?
Right.
So
Right.
and they're both willing to go to counseling, and they're both willing to talk it out, and they're both willing to
Yes.
do that. Well, in my generation, you've got to be kidding. Trying to
Exactly.
get someone to
Therapy.
sit down and, well, what's wrong with you? It must be something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me.
Exactly. Right. I'm fine. It's just
Yeah.
all about her.
Yes. She's the problem.
Exactly.
And so times are changing. And as I said, what we're seeing right now, what we're seeing is I don't care how powerful you are accountable.
Yes.
Right. And I know that those various people in power think they're not. They think they're untouchable because they have been for so long.
Oh, yeah.
But when that hammer comes down, it's going to shatter their world.
Yes.
And they've got a lot of inner work to do after that,
They
which they can
do.
do from jail, as far as I'm concerned,
Me too, sister.
or, or put them all on one desert island with no
Yeah.
boats, along with
Yes.
Mega,
Amen.
and let them work it out themselves.
Yes. See
Um,
how well that goes.
but basically, what we're saying is we've had enough.
Yeah.
We've had enough. And by you writing this book and having the courage to say, this is what happened to me, this is the effect
Yeah.
that happened to me. Now, you're one of the lucky ones that you did meet somebody that saw
Um,
you, that loved you, because for so many people, like your mom, one marriage after the other,
yeah.
because it was a case of maybe the next person will love and appreciate me,
Right.
because they're never ever encouraged to, no, go in, release your inner child,
Yeah.
love and nurture your inner child. Say, I've got you. Step into your own beautiful flawsomeness, which is
Yes.
your shattered life put together with self-love, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
step forth in that love of self and purpose. And then you will attract the right energy, the right love. But we've got to
Exactly.
heal ourselves before we look. We don't want somebody to complete us. We want someone to complement us, right?
Exactly. I love that. That's exactly the way it needs to be. I mean, you don't, when you're looking for someone else to fill in gaps that you don't have, you're just looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You need to get really, know that you deserve the best, especially
Yes,
women. We deserve to be treated like queens.
we do.
And we need and respect our spouse and love them as well. I mean, it's, like you said earlier, it's like what the airlines, they
Mhm.
understand you have to put the oxygen on yourself before you
Yeah,
put it on your child. It is that same mentality
yeah,
that we need to have, at all times. So when it comes to our kids, I mean, you still have to put it on yourself first, but I mean, it's up to us to present ourselves in a way that we deserve that to be treated like a queen. And that's the energy that you want to put out. And you'll
Yes.
find that, and when I quit looking, that's what it took for me. When I was like, I am done.
Yes.
I'm going around the world, see the sights, and, and I wasn't looking. And there he was. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's a doctor. He's from Georgia. Well, he's been everywhere. His dad was in the government, but I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But when he asked me, I was like, go around the world, marry this man. And I'm like, I love this guy. He's amazing,
Yeah. And you probably brought something out in you that you didn't know how to find on your own.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do need, whether it's a spouse or whether it's just good friendship, a good team of people that see something
yes,
in you that you don't see in yourself because you've been so busy apologizing for yourself, right?
yes,
And when somebody
exactly.
sees through, that's nothing to apologize for,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
I see love in front of me. I see beauty in front of me. I see joy in front of me. That's
yeah,
what I choose to see. That becomes part of the healing because now you can start seeing yourself that same way.
exactly. Exactly. Because I'm like, wow, you love me so much. Kind of like, thank you. It's
Yeah.
like, don't need to thank me. Thank you for
Uh-huh.
being who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And that is, prime thing for people going through it. And, it's not easy. I will be honest, it's not easy. Even the people I've interviewed, have said it's not easy. And some of the people with what they've gone through, molestation by fathers and grandfathers with mothers knowing all about it.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh,
You
and the
don't
thing
even
is,
know.
the mothers are just as scared, right? It's not
Yeah.
about protecting my kid at all costs, is that they've been victimized along the line, it. For
Yep.
them, this is a pattern that whether they like it or not is a norm.
Yes.
So, we have to look at them, although it's deplorable, at the same time, they're a victim as well.
Yeah, they
So,
are.
when we understand, we don't condone the act. We don't condone the person for what they've done, but we do understand because
Yes.
pitchforks don't solve anything, right?
Right.
But accountability is that we know more now, and you know more now. You do have to have accountability for what you've done. And that accountability is not there, but we can't wait for it. We
Right.
have to release ourselves.
Yes.
Because if you wait for that justice and that accountability, you can stay a victim for a long time.
Yeah, you can. And it can get comfortable as
Yes.
the victim because then you don't have a lot of responsibility, you couldn't help it and
Yeah.
but you don't grow.
No.
And I know I've been asked about my mom, kind of where was she in all of this?
Yeah.
And my mom got married when she just turned 16.
Oh, yeah. Way too young.
Her parents were all, about it because he was going to be a doctor.
Right.
And he had multiple affairs the whole time of their, marriage and everything. And so she got distracted a lot by the men in her life. But what I also recognized is that she was doing the best she could with what she had. I
Hmm.
never didn't feel love, just didn't have all that protection
Yeah.
or felt like I could talk about what was going on. For
Mm.
me, I just wanted her to be happy. And I took
Mm.
that on as a child, thinking that's my responsibility, which it
Yes.
wasn't.
No, but children do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to add anything to that. And there was no way I was going to tell her, what went
Mm.
on. And again, I don't blame her because I know I've learned more, as she got older. She just died in January. We were very close, but I learned more and more about her life, and I even interviewed her and to tell me more about your story, Mom.
Yeah.
And somehow I want to do. I don't know what I'll do with that, but I do want to do something, with that pre-knowledge of what she
Mm.
went through.
Yes.
And I knew I wanted to break the cycle. I didn't know what the word was. I
Yeah.
just knew, even when I was 8 and my mom and my dad married, and she was setting out towels for him, drawing the bath, putting his clothes out. And I just remember going, I will never do that.
You dressed yourself.
I don't even know why he's letting her. I don't know why she's doing it because I'd never seen that,
Mm.
till they got married. And I was like, that is not going to happen. And so I knew I wanted to do things differently. So I started looking at a lot. I mean, even when I was 16, I went to a class at church about parenting, and they gave me a hard time. I was the only teenager there. Like, why are you here? Because
Hmm.
I want to learn. I want to break the cycle.
Yeah.
So it's been very an intentional route. And I love my mom.
Mm. And you were already, even though at 19 you chose the wrong guy again, but you were already on your journey of seeking recovery, seeking,
Yes.
you recognize that it was a cycle, and that for so many people, they don't realize.
Yeah.
I'm repeating, hurt people, right?
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
they don't realize they're hurting people because they got hurt. And even though it was not very nice, they don't even acknowledge that they're doing it to someone else because that's all they know. So you
Right.
acknowledged there was a cycle to be broken,
Yeah,
right?
I
That you
did.
wanted to do something different.
Yes. And I didn't get married till I was 28. I mean, that she was
Me too.
16. Yeah. And so then my grandmother got married at 14.
What?
She did, and she had to keep it a secret because you couldn't be married in that little school in Tennessee, and my grandfather was 5 years older. So she kept it a secret and she skipped 2 grades and graduated early. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, my goodness.
Did it work for them?
It did in their own way.
Mm.
They had a completely different circadian rhythms, for one thing. My grandmother would go to bed at 2 or 4 in the morning, sleep till afternoon. She was a professional bridge player.
Good
And
for her.
I know he was an entrepreneur and had a battery business, a manufacturing business. So he was up at 5, like right when she's gone to sleep. So they had separate bedrooms.
Did they
And
even have children? It kind
they
of reminds me of a
did.
Carol Burnett show.
I know, I know. They had my mom, and
Yeah.
then 10 years later they had her brother. Yeah. Which is again, it was interesting because her mother, my great grandmother, I loved, and I did know her into my 20s, which I was very lucky. But my great grandmother had my grandmother, and then 15 years later had another daughter.
Mm.
And so my mom and her brother, 10 years apart. I mean, so, they married really young. Now, my mom my brother was 2 and I was 3 months old. So,
Right, very close.
so that was kind of changing. But anyway, it's just kind of interesting the family patterns.
Yeah, 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 because my sister's 13 years older than me. My brother 5 years older than me, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or they had back to back. So
Right,
yeah,
right. It's
yeah.
interesting.
It is interesting, but kind of like sounds like your grandmother and your grandfather, like, that she obviously had a lot of chutzpah. I'm
Oh
going to
my
play bridge. I'm
gosh.
going to go to bed when I want to go to bed, and it wasn't all about service to the husband. And, that seemed to
No,
suit them.
not Polly. Polly said what was ever was on her mind. She had a lot of hits, maybe a little
Yeah.
too much, not a lot of filter. She was a chain smoker and yeah, she was a mess. And I would tell her, I'm coming to visit and you've got to quit smoking 15 minutes before I get there, or I'm not going to visit but a second because
Mhm.
I'm allergic to tobacco. I can't stand the smell and I'm going to be in that house. And
Mm.
so I could tell. I was like, give her a kiss. I'll see you later.
Yes.
I'm not, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like she had a lot of chutzpah.
Kind of probably that's rubbed off in you, and the reason why you managed to look that there was a cycle to break in the first place, right? Where
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
mom, 3 marriages, she was just trying to do it differently each time, right? So,
Right,
and with you,
right.
no, well, I know, no, it's not going to happen differently unless I break something, right?
Right, and you've got
Yeah.
to do something in here,
Yes.
and I highly recommend professional therapy. I think it's
Mm,
fantastic. It's all for you, somebody who's trained in it. It's just
mm,
it's very valuable. But yeah, mom and they didn't do that, and my husband and I went through premarital counseling,
mm.
and it was fantastic. And it's just great, and I believe in it in a big way. But yeah, the generations though.
I know there's a lot of generations that have kind of gone back to it. Whenever I went, and this is no word of a lie, would always end up with whoever is my counselor or my psych thing, and they quote on the couch, and I'm counseling them. So
Oh no.
It just happens to have always been the way it's gone, you know.
Oh man, I need to
And
give you my number.
yeah. But I've learned, I remember actually being in Washington, D.C. This is 76. I'm in Washington, D.C., staying with a couple. She was a university teacher, he was a high school teacher, and they had family that were in the government. So we were in Georgetown at a party, and everybody's schmoozing. And then everybody's talking about their therapist or their shrink or whatever, right? And everybody had one. And it's like, no, no, we won't have children until they tell us to have it. And no, we
Oh,
won't. And I listened, and like nobody would make a decision on their own without going to the therapist. And then they
yeah.
said to me, well, who's your therapist, dear? And I said, I don't have one. Oh, you don't? And I
For
said, no, I work
shame.
things out for myself. What? And I said, you're in government. You're making decisions for the world, and you can't make
And you
decisions
don't have
about
a
your
therapist?
life. And then they found out that I'd been in the theater, and they asked me to leave the party.
Are you
Are you
serious?
serious?
Oh my God. You didn't want to be with those people anyway. Those were not
I
your
mean, I'm
people.
always a case and study, so certainly for as far as that was concerned. But yes, it kind of mind boggled me, and it's
Yeah,
like no,
interesting.
I've this is for me, I've tried it, but I'm too much of that myself, right? And so
Yeah,
it has been just working things out or doing other things like removing past lives and getting
right.
rid of cellular memories and things like that. So I've gone and done those paths, and I have to say, 13 years of doing this has been great therapy.
Yeah, I
So
bet. I bet. Well, you do it well.
thank
You
you.
have great stories and your thoughts. We're in alignment.
Yeah, well, we kind of, not the same story, but I get you. I get you, and that's the
Mhm.
thing is that Um, I use that word flawsome, which is a beautiful word I learned a few years ago. And your Japanese take a bowl that's broken, put it back together with gold. And I'm saying take all your shattered pieces and put it back
Right.
together with self-love. And when you do that, it begs to be filled. And then
Yes.
when you fill it, it just the more love you give that bowl, the more love that runneth over. And we don't realize, especially if we've been victimized as a child, of how much we need to become the love, to become the love, to be abundant with it, and
Yes.
trust being vulnerable. And that is when we can step into some form of faith. For me, it's universal wisdom.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's I channel my wisdom to know what my mind needs to know when it needs to know it. And
Yes.
it taps into the intellect of the heart, soul, and spirit, not
Yes.
just the brain. And
Right.
and it's in that trusting and listening to the core of you, knowing when your core says no, pay attention. Don't argue, pay
Right.
attention. When the core
Yeah.
says, yeah, you don't know what you're doing, but just go and do it. You've got we will provide.
Right.
And I think that's kind of whether you manage to see a therapist and find the right one for you, or whether you find something else that comes to therapy, you need to do something that allows you to nurture you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you can't do it alone. And I've just done it in a very peculiar way. You can't do it alone. And
Yeah.
and the biggest thing that you need to let go of, which a lot of people don't understand of people who've been victimized, is guilt.
Yeah.
Why do we feel so goddamn guilty?
Right.
We didn't ask for it,
Nope.
but society's what you must have.
Right. You dress like this or this
Yes, a
or this.
7-year-old. You're
Yeah.
right.
Right. Yeah.
That I just but yes, there is that guilt that's imposed upon it, and I
Absolutely.
mean, we're looking at certain victims, seen women who've already been through this, already the testimonies, already sent him to jail, and nobody wants to hear their story. And here they're having to relive it all over again.
I know.
But
Yes.
courageous to them. But they're not just bringing down a man, they're bringing down the pedophilia that is a sickness out there. So kudos to them and all that support them. But we need to look to, as you said, person sitting next to us. Right?
Mhm.
What's your story? We've got to be
Yes.
willing to make a safe space for someone to share their story.
Yes. And that's what I'm hoping. I hope the more people who can read my book. And speaking of the Epstein, there's one in Virginia who was very outspoken against Epstein, who committed suicide in April.
Yes.
Her book is coming out just before mine, and it's a similar title. It's
Mm.
and what I'm hoping through all these efforts and those women, like you say, because you do have to go, you have to go right back to those times and
Yes.
relive those moments, that they will find the courage and the strength and the sisterhood of people
Mm.
who are saying, "We hear you, we see you, we want
We
to
support
hear
you.
from you, and we
Yeah.
support you."
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've got to stand together. And I think kind of one of the worst things is that we kind of know the men don't believe us, but
Right.
it's when a woman doesn't. That hurts more.
Oh, that would, yes, that would
Yep.
be, yeah, we need to support each other.
Yes. Yes. And, yes, we do have the occasional woman crying wolf. There was a young man that was in jail for 5 years after a woman saying something, and he's now been exonerated because she claimed she lied. But it's 5 years of his life in jail, living
Exactly.
day to day by fear. And
Yeah,
but that for me is not the due diligence of the judicial system to really get
exactly.
to the truth. It's just another number, lock him up, you know.
Right,
And
right.
so we've got to stop that cycle as well. So many cycles that have got to be stopped.
We've got to get to healthy living, and there's a lot of cycles to be
A
broken, like
lot of cycles need to
cobwebs,
be severed. And as I
like all
said, when
this.
you're aware, right, you can't be
Yeah,
unaware anymore.
yeah. It's like these spider webs everywhere.
Yeah.
We got to clean them out.
Yes,
Keep
exactly. It's
cleaning them
time for
out. Yeah,
house cleaning. Absolutely. And we can't know how to clean up the outside mess until we clean up the inside one,
yep.
right?
That's the message.
And that message is you are enough. You are worthy. You are the love you seek. You are the peace. You are the purpose you seek. Step into your
Yes.
light because you always were meant to be light. And
Yeah.
what has happened to you is actually happened for you
Yeah.
because it will now be your path that A strengthens you, but shows you a path of what you're there for other people.
Yeah. I totally agree. I have a goddaughter who has what's called brittle bones, osteogenesis
Mm,
imperfecta, and
yeah.
she's a Paralympian.
Wow.
And she's had over 100 breaks in her
Wow.
life. And she says she wouldn't be who she is. She's going to go into disability. She's going to
Good
go
for
into
her.
law school for disabilities, and she's going to finish out probably the 400 relay in swimming in LA at the next Olympics and stop that professional career. But she says that, and she's written a book and
Oh,
breaking
I'd love to
free.
interview her. I'd love to
You
interview
have
her.
to.
Yes, yes,
She's a
yes.
spokesperson.
Mm,
She does a lot of speak. I mean, she is amazing. I'll give you her name afterwards.
definitely.
But yeah, she just did a TEDx talk a few months ago. We got to be there with her for that. But she says OI has made her who she is today.
Yes.
And, her stories are just phenomenal. I mean, I've watched her grow up. I held her when she was just born, and we
Mm,
knew something was not right.
yeah.
Um, but she is the same. She's like, yeah, it happened, not to me, but for me.
Yes.
Just carries a brake kit with, she breaks a bone, because she's going to.
Glue herself back together.
She does, she does, and gets in the pool. She might can't use that arm, but she'll use her two legs and the other
Yes.
arm.
And those are the strongest people. You can throw anything at them and they will find a way,
They
right? And
will.
I talk a great deal about lackitude versus gratitude. And when people who have faced challenges and
Yeah,
triumph through those challenges, they live in gratitude. Thank you for giving me the strength to get
right,
through this.
right,
People in lackitude moan and bitch about them and blame someone else,
right. The blamers. Yeah,
right? So
yeah, exactly.
we have to look at who are we? Because yes, somebody else victimized you. The onus is on them,
Right,
right? You may not have asked for it, because no, we don't. Sexual abuse, we never ask for it. Um,
right.
the only onus that we have to take is in our own healing,
Yeah,
right? Nobody else can heal us unless we're willing to heal ourselves. And that
right.
is forgiveness, not that you're condoning, but you have to forgive to release yourself.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. You have to. That's a good, right on the money.
And it is a hard thing to do, but at the same time, it's otherwise you're going to stay trapped. You're
Yeah.
going to stay trapped, and you want to release yourself. It's not condoning what they did. They're accountable for that. That's
Yeah.
on them,
Right.
right? Always will be. But
Yeah.
you forgive so you can move on.
Right. Because when you don't forgive, usually that person that you're so upset with is out playing golf somewhere
Yes,
and you're the one carrying the weight
exactly.
because forgiveness is for you.
Yes,
I,
exactly.
I,
And
I
forgiving
forgive.
of oneself. That
And
is, I think, probably the hardest. So, for so many people that I've interviewed that are psychologists, et cetera, et cetera, it is the forgiveness of oneself
yeah,
because we're taught that it is our fault. We're taught
yeah,
that we ask for it. We're taught that we're to blame. And when
yeah,
we let go of that and go, no, no, I will go in a case of like, my marriage, married a narcissist, but his narcissism
yeah,
comes from injured child. Right.
right,
So he became a narcissist needing attention because he didn't get it as a child. So I
right,
understand that now, right?
yeah,
But I was victim of his insecurity, right? So
absolutely.
I look at it that I kind of gave him the boots to kick me with. He put them on and kicked. So the
Right,
onus is on him on doing that, but my onus is on that I didn't stand up for myself
yeah,
until I did.
right,
Right. And
yeah,
then that was
yeah.
a
So
different
you,
scenario altogether. Right. But it was almost feeling I was deserving of the punishment. And that goes back to childhood. And that's what we see so much of people who have been victimized as a child,
right,
deserving of the punishment, right?
yeah,
This is all that I'm worth. And
right,
we need to change that dialogue around
yes,
completely.
absolutely. I'm so with you on that.
And it's
That's
all to be done. So by writing your book, you've not only shown, what you went through, which is, as you said, the common denominator is that always that fear of abandonment. Will somebody love me or are they just going to abandon me? And I'm
right.
sure even how much you loved your husband in those first few years. It would
Yes.
always been at the back of your mind, right?
Yeah. Did
Because
I do
that had,
something that he's going to push him away?
yes, yes, yeah,
Right,
yes. Because it's not that you didn't trust him or even yourself. It's just that, well, that's what's always happened. Is that going to happen here?
right.
Right. And, so yes, those things that you carry with you moving forward. But
Yeah.
what you're showing people, 35 years of good marriage, right? So, yes, you can
Right.
have that, right?
Yes, you
Deserving
can.
love, right? You can have
Yes.
that supportive
Yeah.
love and understanding. You can have that. You are worthy of that.
Yeah.
But you've got to be willing to do the work to get to that place.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. And he writes me a note every morning
Oh,
on a post-it for years. I've got books of it, but I hang them. We have a timber frame home and I hang them up and
oh,
every morning. Yeah.
ah,
Well, I'm going to show you my book title, my book.
no
And
longer that girl.
yeah, yeah. And I love that they did this. The creative minds behind the cover is like a
Mhm.
slide, like we
Yes.
did back in the 70s. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The cheapest way to go.
Exactly. And you look what can be done today. It's just amazing.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But yes, and of course, the 70s was also a time of, where it came in the 60s and the 70s really pushed it. It's like, don't get so hung up on sex, man. It's free love. It's just sex.
Right.
Right. And so kind of we were brought up in that thing, like, well, if I don't, am I approved? Will
Right.
anybody accept me?
Right.
I want to be cool like them. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
so
Yes.
it wasn't necessarily supportive of women in that way, not those that have
Oh,
been abused, especially.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
So yes, everything has its reason, and you've overcome. And as you said, it all came to a head during COVID, which
Yeah.
is just that I call it the the nudge nudge wink wink of the cosmic 2x4. So it gave you the cosmic 2x4,
Yep.
to paralyze you, for you to kind of be without a breath, and then in that breath, I need to write this, I need to put this down,
Yes.
and which is something you needed to do that you wouldn't have done had you just carried on normally.
Right.
Right. So everything happens for a reason. And then
Yes.
this book today, for somebody on that journey, knowing happy life, right? In control, and living your fullest, right?
Yes. Yep.
It can be achieved, and you've achieved it, but in what they need to do in order to get there.
Yes, and that's what I hope they get in my book. At least see what I did in my journey. And
Mm.
again, I recommend, talk therapy as a great starting point because if you get the right therapist, and
Yes.
you need to get the right person for sure.
Yes.
If that person it doesn't feel right, find somebody who does because it's for you. You're paying
Mm.
for that, and you can do that cheaply through family and children's services. A lot of times they'll just charge a sliding scale. But,
Hmm.
that is, I think, a very good place to begin to start sorting through your thoughts.
Yeah, you need a sounding board.
Yes. And that person, that's what, like, you were talking about your therapist and how they kind of were. My therapist, I can't get her to tell me if I want to do, what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
She's not going to give me anything.
No, it was always reverse
But it's
with
a
me. Maybe I missed
sounding
my calling.
exactly. But it's a sounding board, and it's someone, if they're a good therapist, will be putting back your words so that you can
Yes.
hear them where you can't hear them just in your mind.
Yeah,
And I encourage
exactly.
people to write. You don't have to write
Yes.
a book, but just write, riff, get it out for
Yeah.
your eyes only. If you want to write a book, write a book. But if you don't want to write a book, just write for yourself all the way through and get it out. It's like for me, like making a list to the grocery store.
Yes.
I keep playing with it in my head. Okay, I say eggs and bread, what? But if I write it down, I'm like, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Exactly.
And I think that's
Exactly.
what writing is a gift to give
Yeah.
yourself.
And for some people, writing not be their thing. For me, I have dyslexia. So when I finally got a
Mhm.
computer, I
Mhm.
found my voice because, the computer could autocorrect. I couldn't even read my own writing before. So that was
Yeah.
always a problem. But also, like every week, I do my own show on something, right?
Oh,
Some a
nice.
perspective or observation or an opinion. And in many ways, that is me, speaking to,
Right.
what is happening there. So with the over 400 shows there's been there through the years, it is
Wow.
around that, it's like kind of my place to, and people want to get to know me, then go there, because I'm an open book.
Exactly.
I don't need to close my book anymore. You take me or leave
Right.
me, I'm an open book. And I think
Yes.
that's the thing, and I talk about people's vulnerability. You want to feel secure in your vulnerability, and the greatest gift you can give someone is your vulnerability and trust, which you
Yes.
gave to your husband, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
only way you're going to know if that person does not abuse it is for you not to carry the fear forward that he will.
Right.
Like to set, as you talked about the boundary, set the frequency of how to be loved, how to be honored, how to be treated, and to
Yes.
let them know anything below that, out of bounds, and that you won't accept that. And then those are the
Yes.
guidelines, right?
Yes.
And then they're not going to betray you because they're in those guidelines. But if we don't set them,
Right.
right? And it's not, oh, if you do this, you're out the door. No, it's not that.
No.
It is
No.
like, well, oh, sorry, I can't accept that, right?
Yes.
Or I don't like that. And they know, okay, out of that parameter. But we've got to give them guidance just as much as they've got to give us.
Exactly. And yeah, I remember a really good story about that. A real quick story is that I played sports all my life. And when we first got married and had our little house, we had a basketball court. And I'm just like doing like I do in sports and just, oh man, and going all to town. And he stopped playing. He said, I don't really want to play. I'm not having fun. And I'm like, why? Well, I just don't enjoy kind of like the smack talk.
Yes.
And what I've of course learned all these years, I mean, that's his big love language is words of encouragement.
Right.
And I stopped that day. It hit me in the
Uh,
chest, like in my
yeah.
stomach. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Mhm.
Well, of course I didn't have any idea, but as athletes, we do that. We just
Yes.
it's just a thing we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I stopped that day with him.
Hmm.
That
And
was the
that's the thing, they're carrying vulnerability too.
exactly.
Right. So, we've got to honor their vulnerability and their parameters. And if they can't tell you, then you don't know. So if you do cross that line, it's not I go at the end of it. No, it's like we need to talk about this.
Yes,
Right.
and
And
that's what
be
we
open
did.
and willing to listen. And it's not shame and blame on you. It is like I did not know and I'll do better.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And
Yeah.
I don't do that. Our younger son gets to do that. He's a real smart butt, and he's so funny. I can't do it. I
Yeah,
can do it with him, but not with my husband because that it's like touch is very important to me. And if somebody were to, or Mike were to hit me, or that would just be devastating.
yeah, yeah,
Turning it
exactly.
against me, you turning touch
Yes,
against me is a really powerful, which is what happened with him,
yeah, yes,
playing basketball.
right. And
So
you never
you,
know, what's going to trigger.
mm-mm,
And so if you're not willing to talk about it, how can you resolve it? How can you grow as an individual or, within a relationship? Um,
yeah,
and the more confident you become, which is not cocky, it's confidence, in who you are, what your boundaries are, coming from the very core of you and not compromising. Now, it doesn't mean you're not flexible. It means you're not compromising,
right.
uh, and uh, and living life on your own terms. And it's not putting in the list, well, I'm not going to accept this, that, etc. It's like I'm looking to love someone who will receive my love, or friends that will honor who I am, work colleagues that will respect what I have to give, placing the emphasis on the good and
Right.
stop feeding the negative.
Yes, yes. That's a dead end road.
Yeah.
Yeah, to feed the negative. Yeah, we need a lot more positive in our world right now.
Oh boy, do we.
Yeah,
Well, we have it
yeah.
in someone like you and the book that you've written and in the
Oh,
way that you've written it and talking about, love and joy, which is what we're all looking for. We're all looking for that love and joy,
yes.
and taking off that heavy weight, that what we've been carrying. Again, so many people, that will read your book but won't even remember how they used to or identify, oh God, that's me. I relate to that. And I didn't even know that this is what I was feeling. Right.
Yeah.
So automatically it's permission to feel it, permission to
Yes.
go through it, permission to heal yourself, to love on yourself. Right.
Yes.
And the only permission we should have to give is to ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Ourselves.
Yes.
But we do still seek it from others. And so when others say, I've done this and I know you can, I believe in you, then that's the permission to start looking at themselves differently.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you're wonderful. Thank you.
Right back at you.
Aw.
I love it when people take that vulnerability and honestly and earnestly share it because it is a lot to expose,
It
right? And
is.
at the same time, though, it's so liberating not only for you, but it shows liberation for other people that are seeking for it, that don't have the answers or feel so alone. And then if I know somebody else is going through this and what did you do, then it opens up and it changes everything completely. So,
It does, and that's my hope. That is
yeah.
definitely my hope.
So, how do people get the book? How do people find you? What's your website and a couple of your social medias?
Okay, so my website is www dot, and then it's Steph Maley, Steph Maley, Maley.com. And you can go on there and you can order from there. But if you just want to order, you can go to Books a Million, you can go to Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and you can pre-order right now, and it'll come again November 4th is my pub date,
Right.
publication date. So it'll be coming. It won't be that long away, but you
No,
can order and you don't have to wait that long.
right. And it's called No Longer That Girl. Um,
Retrace,
yep,
yeah, retracing the scars
the
of the past
scars.
and present. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. And the thing is, retracing isn't reliving. Right.
right.
That's something we need to understand. It's not reliving. And of course, you're on LinkedIn under your name, full name, Stephanie
Yes,
Maley.
yes,
Instagram, love to write, LOV2, number two, write, WRITE. And you're on Facebook. I don't know what name you're under here, but people can find it. It's under Steph's Writings.
yes,
So you can find it there. And the thing is, I always say a book is something that keeps on giving. Um, it's not only changes your life, you start having a conversation that sparks something in somebody else's life. I always encourage people to do book clubs and share it, but I also have podcast clubs. listen to a
Yeah.
podcast and share what you each got out of it. And now you've got a broader picture of everything. But,
Yeah.
and a book, coming out in November where Christmas is around the corner. And
Yeah.
so it's a great thing to give to someone that is going through something that doesn't want to talk about it. All right. And
That's a
so,
great idea. Yeah.
and as I said, it's they'll read it when they're ready, but it's there.
Right.
And what they get out of it is where they're at. But they could reread it again and get something else out of it.
Yes.
But it's maybe just a starting point, or maybe it's something that opens everybody up. Who knows? It's going to be what it is for them. But
Yes.
a book is a great gift to give to people because it is, as you can see behind me,
I know. I love your books.
the
Yes.
people I've interviewed, the books I've been in, and
Yes. I love it.
books are just something so they're just packed with wisdom, which is what I love. So
Yes.
share
Yes.
the wisdom, share the wisdom.
Share the wisdom. I love it.
Been wonderful having you here, love, truly. And thank you for
You
taking
too.
your journey and doing what you're doing and having the courage to do that. And as you said, like you had a wonderful life, and but you just couldn't quite trust the joy until
Hmm.
you wrote this and released everything. And so a lot of people must say, but I got over that. I got over that. Did
Yeah.
you? So, maybe even just for yourself, as you said, write it down, audio it down, whatever it is, get
Yeah.
it out, whatever way.
Yeah.
And then have a look at it, and you'll realize there's always something there that still needs to be addressed. And even now, years later, I've still got things now and again that come up. And
Yeah.
I have to look at it for what it is. Is it a memory? Right? Okay, why are you here? Well, I'm feeling tired and down and it's come up, feeling vulnerable. Okay, all right, nurture myself. All right. Or
Right.
it's come up because maybe there's a warning of people around me and it's brought up that. Or it's
Yeah.
something that's not yet been deleted. Okay, I see you, but do you understand that you are no longer a part of my life? Delete. Right.
Yes. Yes. I
But
like that.
don't run from it. It doesn't mean you're being pulled back in. It just means you need to address it
Yeah.
for
Yes.
whatever it is. So thank you so much for writing the book and have the courage to share. It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So remember the website again is, I'll quickly get back to it. Oh no, lost it. Right, give your website again, please, love.
StephMaley.com. STEPHMALEY .com.
Excellent. So please reach out to her and let her know what you thought of the book, what you thought of the podcast. This is
Yes.
an interactive. We want to hear from you. So please do reach out. So until next time, folks, I wish you well, I wish you joy, and I wish you abundance in life. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.